Okay, so getting back into our coverage over the Ultimates 2 series, we do pick up with Volume 2, the first 3 chapters of Volume 2, which really does show the downfall to America. Now, guys, remember, when it comes to Ultimates 2, it went into a completely different direction than Ultimates 1 did. You see, Ultimates 1 was really more of, let's put together a superhero team to protect America, to go after super villains. But now Ultimates 2 is going into a direction where it's more of, hey, let's use the Ultimates as a way to attack other countries. Turn our superhero team into a military force to use against countries who could become possible threats down the road against America. Now, let's not forget, after Nick Fury was able to put the Ultimates together and then get the backing of the American government, he did begin to go out of his way to create more members to have on the Ultimates. He wanted at least 5 different teams out there to be able to handle different kinds of situations around the world. And so, when it came to Nick, he began to launch different kinds of projects that would give him more members to the Ultimates. So for example, the Goliath program. When it came to Hank Pym, he was the first giant man. But after beating his wife, he was kicked off the Ultimates, fired from S.H.I.E.L.D., but they took his formula and gave it to other men who are now able to turn into giant men, or Goliaths. Same thing for Iron Man. Once you had Iron Man join the Ultimates, you then had Tony go out of his way to create other armor suits for other people to actually wear. And so it shows that Nick Fury had this plan in his head the entire time. He wanted an army of superpower beings to use against other countries around the world. And so, when it comes to Nick Fury in this storyline, we see him that 6 weeks ago, he sent the entire Ultimates program to attack a nuclear facility to make sure that they would not be able to use none of their nuclear missiles against America, but possibly other countries around the world. Now, some people in those countries were really upset about the idea that America had invaded their country for no actual good reason. Like, yes, they did have nuclear weapons, but did you know they were going to use those weapons against America? Or was this you just saying, hey, just in case, we are going to shut down your facility. Even though this is your country, we're coming here to shut you down. And some of those people could come back and try to attack S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Ultimates down the road. Now, when it comes to Thor, we have to remember that he was locked up at the tail end of Ultimates 2 Volume 1, because in that volume, we had supposedly seen Thor attack a group of police officers who were trying to supposedly stop a protest from happening. But because he did attack those police officers, the Ultimates had no choice but to go ahead and lock him up. Now, something I do want you guys to remember, when it comes to the original Ultimate Marvel universe, it was created in a way where you had to think about our world, the real world, and what would happen if heroes had appeared in our world. And so for most of the people of Earth, they look at Thor as a mentally ill person because there's no way that he is the god of thunder. Now, what also really hurt him was that his brother appeared, Loki. Now, when it comes to Loki, we already know he is the god of mischief, but he played the Ultimates completely by saying that he was some scientist who was going out of his way to help his home country create their own super soldier by using technology. But Thor, being a mentally ill person, went out of his way to steal the tech and to become Thor. But when it comes to today's video, we see Thor talking to Iron Man. Now, Iron Man and Thor, they were close friends back in Ultimates 1, Volume 1, and Volume 2, and really the early parts of Volume 1 for Ultimates 2. But now, they're no longer friends, because now Thor had heard that the Ultimates are going out of their way to attack other countries around the world. Now, when it comes to Thor, he had high hopes for Tony, because Tony was also somebody who said, I would not be part of a team that goes out of their way to attack other countries. But here he is now, going out of his way to attack other countries around the world. Now for Tony, they had a legit excuse to bring him on for that last mission, because again, it was a nuclear facility. But you have Thor saying, oh, that's all it took to get you on board. Well, here's a question for you right now. If they say China, Japan, or North Korea has some nuclear missiles, are you again going to attack that country as well? What if they say Australia had just built one nuclear missile? Are you going out of your way to attack them as well? And for Tony, he believes that Thor is just talking madness. Now, we have to pick up with the Wasp, because remember, the Wasp is dating Steve Rogers by this point of the Ultimates. But when we pick up with her, we see her on a date, or a lunch date, with Hank Pym. Now remember, Hank Pym by this point is her ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, as they go through the divorce process. But the reason why she left him, because he had beaten her so badly back in Volume 1 of Ultimates 1, she almost died. She barely survived. But then she moved on and got with Steve. But now here she is, she's telling Hank that she wants to leave Steve for him. And here is the reason why. Steve is too 1940s. You see, he hates all the shows that she watched. He hates all the clothes that she wears. And a lot of times when they go out for different kind of events, they're hanging out with Bucky and Gale, two friends of Steve Rogers from the 1940s. And so for her, it's just too boring. She wants some excitement in her life. And she believes that Hank can give her that once again, possibly. But now we have to shift our focus over to the home of Hawkeye. Now, when it comes to Hawkeye, let's not forget, he has a family, a wife and a couple of kids. I want to say 3 kids actually. But when it comes to their home, they just were hosts for an Ultimates dinner. You had the Ultimates over, having dinner, having drinks, having a good time. But everybody left. Now, when it comes to his wife, the doorbell rings, and she believes it is the Scarlet Witch coming back for her purse, except it's not the Scarlet Witch. It's a group of guys with guns who kills off Hawkeye's wife just like that. She's gone. And by the time he realized what happened to his wife, they barge into his house and they kill all of his kids. And they shoot him up, but to make sure that he survives so that they'll be able to take him as a hostage. But then, right before the ending of this first chapter, Hawkeye sees who is the traitor to the team. Now, when it comes to his reaction, we can tell it has to be somebody who's very close to him, somebody he trusted very well. And now that person had just killed off his entire family. And so we jump over to Steve Rogers. Now, when it comes to Steve Rogers, well, he goes out of his way to confront the Wasp, to tell the Wasp that he knows that she was with Hank Pym. Now, for Steve, he's wondering, why in the world are you trying to go back to your abuser? Somebody who actually beat you down, not once, but multiple times over the years that you have been with him. And now you have a guy who actually loves you, who actually protects you, who does not put his hands on you. Why are you going back to Hank? And you have the Wasp say, because you're boring. Like literally every day we are arguing over almost everything that I like. The shows I watch, the clothes I wear, the words I say. You hate almost everything about me because I'm not Gale. I'm not someone from your time, the 1940s, because you have not been able to adjust to current times, to current ways. And so you have Steve just leave. He jumps off the balcony to go somewhere else in the world to just get some fresh air, to get away from her. But this is the moment we can say that Steve and the Wasp are most likely officially over. But now we have to jump over to Nick Fury. Now, when it comes to Nick, he got word what happened to Hawkeye, and so he had headed straight over to the home of Hawkeye to hopefully find any kind of clues to figure out what exactly happened to him. Now, we do get confirmation that Hawkeye's family is officially dead. The entire family has been wiped out, minus Hawkeye. Now, when it comes to Nick, he tells us that he has cameras all over the place. And so he tells his team to go ahead and tap into those cameras to figure out who led a team of soldiers to attack the home of Hawkeye. Now, when it comes to Nick and all the different agents that are with him at the moment, they are very surprised to see who is in the camera taking out the family of Hawkeye. And so now we jump back over to Steve Rogers. Now, when it comes to Steve, you have Steve going over to the home of Bucky. Now remember, Bucky did not become the Winter Soldier in Ultimate Marvel. At the end of World War II, he just married Gail and they began a life with one another. They grew old with one another. And so Bucky is just an old man, but still a very close friend for Steve. And so this is Steve going to Bucky to have a shoulder to cry on, to have somebody to talk to. Because yes, even though Steve and the Wasp did not date that long, and so unfortunately they're going to break up, this is also a man who was thrown into a new world. And then as soon as he arrived in the new world, he was told to become Captain America again, to then lead a team of heroes against different kinds of threats. And so this man, unfortunately, did not have the chance to actually sit down to catch his breath. And the only thing he was so happy about is now being taken away from him. He already lost Gale to Bucky, and now he is losing the Wasp. But while you have the two guys talking to one another, they don't realize that Nick and S.H.I.E.L.D. are about to move in and go after Steve Rogers. Because when they looked at that camera footage, they saw Steve Rogers. And so they believe that Steve Rogers was the one who killed off Hawkeye's family. He's the one who has been leaking information to everybody across America. He is the one who is currently holding Hawkeye somewhere. And so you have Nick send in the reserves to attack Steve Rogers, to bring him down. Now, Steve has no idea what in the world is going on here. He's kind of like, hey, why are you attacking me? Why are you not talking to me? But this is Nick saying, no, there is no time to talk to you because I know what you did. Now, this is also Nick thinking that when it comes to Steve Rogers, that he was planted there in the waters where Iron Man found him as a way to begin the process to bring down S.H.I.E.L.D., to bring down the American government. That one of their enemies had planned this for a very long time. But again, Steve has no idea what he is talking about. But either way, this chapter ends with Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. and the reserves being able to take down Captain America. And the news spreads fast across all the different news channels across the world or across America. The idea that Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. had just taken down Steve Rogers, that most likely he is the traitor. And different members of the Ultimates cannot believe what they are hearing on the news. And so getting into the final chapter for today's video, we do pick up with Hawkeye now being tortured by some random guy who does a very good job in torturing people. Now, we kind of find out that it has been a couple days since Hawkeye has been abducted, but we also kind of find out that ever since he was taken, they have been using Hawkeye as a way to gain intel on S.H.I.E.L.D., on different top secret things about S.H.I.E.L.D., how to most likely take S.H.I.E.L.D. down. But unfortunately, Hawkeye can't do anything at all. He's just stuck there and has to be tortured over and over again as they give him different chemicals that allows him to talk. But of course, when he does talk, he's just sharing secrets. But now we jump over to the home of Iron Man. Now remember, around this time in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, Iron Man was engaged to Black Widow. And so you have Iron Man being that good fiance to see how Black Widow is doing, because her and Hawkeye, they were very close friends. They were partners for years in S.H.I.E.L.D. to only hear that, hey, listen, your partner has been kidnapped and his entire family has been killed off. And so she's going through it at the moment, but she tells Tony that she wants to cuddle. It's code word for get in bed and get her freak on. But now we get into the fall of America. Oh my gosh. This was literally the best part of Ultimates 2. Really, out of all three Ultimates, Ultimates 2 is the best one out of the trilogy. Now, when it comes to the fall of America, you have the Ultimates just meeting up, and you still have the Ultimates not believing in the idea that Steve Rogers would be the guy on a team of heroes as a traitor. They'll want to share all the secrets of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the American people. But while you have the Ultimates talking, that is when things pop off. All major cities are being attacked by an unknown force of metahumans. I'm talking about Chicago, New York, LA, Miami. If there's a major city in your state, it's getting attacked at the moment. And so right now you have the Ultimates wondering what in the world is going on. But then their base gets blown up. Now, luckily for the Ultimates, Quicksilver was able to get everyone out of there just in time. But now you have Quicksilver trying to use his abilities as a way to take down some of the enemies. But the problem is, there's too many of them. And while everything is popping off, Iron Man hears it and he wants to go help out the Ultimates. And that is when we come to find out that Black Widow is actually the traitor. It was not Captain America. It was Black Widow. And now Iron Man is being held hostage. Oh, by the way, Black Widow kills off Jarvis just like that. But now we have to shift our focus over to Loki. Now, when it comes to Loki, he's been around the entire time in the Ultimates 2 series. It's just that no one believed that Loki was actually real. Because again, they believed that Thor was just a mentally ill person who kept saying he's the god of thunder, that his evil brother is playing mind games. But right now, it shows that the god of mischief is up to something, and that something is to see America fall to its knees. Now, with that being said, we kind of find out that Loki is not alone at all. We do see different characters, and we do get hinted at the idea that these different characters have come from different countries around the world. Now, this is a callback, because remember, Nick was warned about the idea of continuing to build the Ultimates. Like, most of the countries ignored the original team. Steve Rogers, Iron Man, Thor, the Wasp, Giant Man. Like, you had most of the countries turn a blind eye to the original team because of what happened in 9/11. But they were warned, Nick was warned by other generals from other countries, do not continue to build more superhumans. Do not continue to build more teams of Ultimates, because if you do, sooner or later, you're going to have other countries try to answer back. And when they do, you're not going to like that answer at all. And right now, we're kind of seeing this answer. We're seeing the other countries sending out different metahumans coming together to attack America, to bring down the Ultimates. And with Black Widow now being a traitor, now we know that she told them how to bring down the Ultimates. And they're being led by Loki, the god of mischief. And so in a matter of minutes, less than 1 hour, America has fallen. The Ultimates has fallen. Loki and his new team of villains have officially won. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.